get started with the RLA IFD, and I'll begin with the unit overview. And I'll go down to during this unit so I can see what we're working on in this unit. So, students have self-selected text. They're going to read based on interest, purpose, and readability. So it has to be something that they can actually read, because we want to make sure that they're reading it on their own. Students will reflect on their choices, behaviors, preferences, and impact their growth as readers, establishing classroom culture. So we're going to do a lot of that during the Unit 1. Celebrate independent reading. So I'm going to try to see what we can add to that independent reading over sustained periods of time. So we're going to have to build some stamina for the kids. They set goals and work towards increased stamina. So they're going to be monitoring comprehension. They're going to practice asking questions and making personal connections. They'll discuss ideas in text and reflect to make meaningful connections. They will be responding to reading through written responses. So when they're reading, they need to be responding. And use text evidence. And then for writing, students, they're going to develop a draft. So we need to provide opportunities for them to draft. They're going to select topics of personal interest. So it's going to be something that they're interested in learning about or sharing. They're going to look at the message for writing and their audience. So pretty much drafting all of this one. They're going to, they will do some editing. It'll be for specifically subject verb agreement, common and proper nouns, and focusing their ideas. Oh, here we go, past tense verbs. So those I think we can work on in RLA, but we definitely could use some writing from social studies to use that writing to help us with the RLA.
Okay.
The draft.
All right. So what I did while you were reading yours, I was jotting down the main key concepts that we have to do in reading and writing. So that way when we go through our planning, I already have the key details pointed out. So let me go through my IFD. And then during this unit, they'll learn about the characteristics of physical geography, the geographic regions, and then, of course, of Texas, political regions, and current settlement patterns, impact of geography on economic activities. And then spatial reasoning would be one of their processing and interpreting multiple maps. Okay. So, but notice here how I put all the key points for reading and writing. So that way I have them as I'm planning along.
Okay. So there's specific content that you'll have that we're going to have to do in social studies that might not overlap, but we can definitely look for opportunities for it to actually see where we can find those connections.
Yeah, so as we're looking through our pacing tool, let's see if we can find areas where we can read and they can practice like the independent reading, the stamina, asking questions, making personal connections, and tying into text evidence. And then we'll see maybe there's writing opportunities also.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have the new pacing tools, and they are formatted a little bit different from the ones last year. But I do see here in purple, this unit of study integrates social studies skills and content where applicable. So they've already done some of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll do is, when I go into the unit, there are all the components of balanced literacy. What I'll do is I'll go read through reading, and then I'll come back and look at writing and see where we can find that overlap.
Okay. All right. So
I'm going to find day 1.
okay.
So here in day 1, they already see some font in purple. use the same anchor chart with social studies. So we're going to be looking at, and students will understand different purposes for reading. Their suggested evidence of learning as a class, students discuss different purposes for reading and create an anchor chart. So the anchor chart is like a 3-column table: what I'm reading, what it tells me, and the purpose. Is that something we can do in social studies?
Oh, definitely. But then I also noticed on the pacing tool, the new one for social studies, it has the same notation yours had, right? But now it's just talking how you can integrate the RLA skills, strategies, and content where applicable. But if you notice on the new row, RLA correlation, it's already in there. So I highlighted the purpose for reading anchor chart, and it's already there. Is that the same one that you have? What I'm reading tells me and purpose, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And for me, it's day 1 of our pacing. So on the first day, they're actually starting to create that table. So I guess we can use it with reading text and then social studies. But if we use the same one, that's definitely going to help. That I don't have to recreate another anchor chart.
This just becomes routine for our students,
No,
right?
they're the same, yeah.
Okay. So I'll make sure that on my day 1, right, that's what we're teaching. And then we'll see on what days it falls into the social studies so we can continue to spiral that practice.
Okay, perfect. So I'll continue reading, and I'm going to go on to, I see another one on day 3. There's another one in, so here's where they begin to look at asking questions. Why should I ask questions about the text I am reading? And the objective is students will determine a purpose for reading and use pre-reading strategies to generate questions about the text. So here's another connection that they put in there. Students will self-select a text that interests them and establish their purpose for reading in text. Prior to reading, students will jot down 2 to 3 questions. So they have to annotate some questions before the text. So what we could do for reading is we can use our some question stems that are specific to kind of reading topics, but we could probably maybe use some similar ones. So first of all, like they have here the Texas Park and Wildlife website. I like that for multimodal because we can provide a text in reading, and then we can provide a different multimodal text in science and social studies.
Okay, and so we can probably have those questions aside, right, on another sheet, and they just kind of notate as they're reading the website on their tablet?
Yes, okay. We can do that. So I have that for my day 3. I'll put a 3 right here.
All right, so noticing as you're reading your page 3, and you're saying that's when you're asking questions and pre-reading strategies, so I notated that on my day 3. Okay, so that day we'll be identifying the physical geographic regions located in Texas. So this is where they're gathering some information. So I think that anchor chart would be perfect to utilize even there, right? But also definitely those questions. I think whatever questions we come up with in your RLA, we'll just go ahead and have those questions done while they're reading there. But then I also noticed on mine, day 3 here, the resource is already a link, so I'll go ahead and just open that up. We can open that up so that way the link's available to us. And then I also noticed a quick write for RLA on characteristics of regions, as in an exit or close. So that might be coming up in our writing, right, as we go along?
Yes, we can look at it right now in writing.
Okay.
So for the writing, there's a social studies connection again, that the students can use social studies topics for writing. So for RLA, students will evaluate which idea will be best to write about. So in the previous days, they're kind of just generating ideas, which is perfect because we can always tap into those ideas for other prompts or other topics we want them to write about when it comes to essays. So for day 3, students will do a 3 to 5 minute quick write on each topic that they put a star from day 2. But we can definitely have them do a quick write on in social studies. We could probably do it during our social studies block of time because what we're going to be doing later on within the unit is revising, editing actually, those pieces. So what we could do is use this quick write to revise and edit when we're bringing it back to the RLA. So they'll write it during their social studies block, and then we can bring it back and use it here and run it through the writing process.
Okay. So we're kind of already creating like a portfolio per
Yes.
se, right? So they can start having collections so they can revise and edit as they go along.
And so what I'll do is I'm going to add some questions for here for reading, and then I'll make a note to the lesson plans for all of us that we're going to be using the quick write from social studies.
Okay.
So if you want to add maybe the titles to that.
Okay. So what I'm going to do on my day 3, under identify physical geographic regions, I'm going to put questions, right? So when you come up with those questions, I'll go ahead and type them in here.
Okay.
And then that way
So they'll be in both places?
Yes, and that way the rest of our team can see them and see what questions we're going to use while we're gathering that information. And then it's already notated here. So I think I'll just go ahead and highlight that also for our team, right? That it's going to be used as a quick write for RLA on the characteristics of regions. And then, oh, this is really important here, to be used in RLA in the future. So that way they can revise and edit later when that exercise comes in.
Okay.
Okay?
So we could probably get grades for the content and social studies, but then we can also go through the writing process and get grades of them engaging in the process. So we can use both for both content.
And then I think it'll give us a nice little precursor of where the students are at in the writing, especially writing on content, and that way we can kind of progress monitor and get them ready for that star at the end of the year.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so I think we got day 3. Let's go on to day 4.